Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and today I'm going to be counting down the top 10 greatest female vocalists in rock and roll. Just a quick note here off the top, I'm not going to be including on this list names like Lizzie Hale, Tarja Turunen, Floor Jansen, or Doro Pesch, because I do want to do a sequel here for the best female metal vocalist of all time, so definitely stay tuned for that if you enjoy this video. But that in mind, let's get started here with the top 10. I'm going to go with Lita Ford, coming in at number 10 here. Originally a member of the Runaways before embarking on a solo career, peaking in the late 80s with a classic duet with Ozzy Osbourne, Close My Eyes Forever. Some people might consider her to be metal. I always felt like she walked the line between rock and metal throughout her career, and I've always considered her solo stuff to be more on the side of rock or pop rock personally, so that's why I wanted to include her here on this list. But Lita Ford, a very powerful voice as well, one of those recognizable voices in all of 80s rock and metal. So with that in mind, coming in at number 10, I'm going to go with Lita Ford. Great singer, fantastic, a string of albums there in the 80s when she was embarking on her solo career initially, and somebody whose success would peter out towards the end of the 80s into the 90s, but I think did some fantastic work in her prime. So with that in mind, did some killer stuff with the Runaways, and then on a solo career, have to put her in the top 10 here. Got to go with Lita Ford at number 10. Next at number 9, let's go with one of the most important names in all of the New York City punk scene, that being Patti Smith. Her debut record, Horses, was a fantastic blend of rock, punk, and poetry as well. No doubt Smith has been, one of the most influential female musicians of all time, and has, many musicians have cited her as being a massive factor in their desires to become musicians themselves, so with that in mind, Patti Smith, definitely, an important figure, not just in the New York City punk scene, like I had said, but in all of rock and roll, right? Super influential, has an amazing, recognizable voice as well, and did some amazing work, whether it was her lyricism, her vocals, she influenced so many. So with that in mind, coming in at number 9, let's go with Patti Smith. Following that up now with my number 8, let's go with Pat Benatar. A few other names here on this list, or just in rock in general, have a more recognizable list of radio hits than that of Pat Benatar, who yielded major success throughout the 80s with, commercial success on albums like Heat of the Night, Precious Time, and Crimes of Passion. So I've never been an advocate personally for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, there's a whole playlist on this channel of the CD guy versus the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but she's definitely on the very short list of recent inductees who actually belong in a rock-oriented Hall of Fame and definitely deserve that recognition in my opinion. So with that said, coming in at number 8 here, I have to go with the legendary Pat Benatar. Great musician, awesome voice, has a great lengthy list of radio hits, but also some fantastic deep cuts as well that may get overlooked in her catalog because, like I said, she does have a very long list of radio hits and, songs that yielded major commercial success. Number 7, let's go with Dolores O'Riordan of the Cranberries. The Cranberries are a band that are highly requested for me to talk about on this channel, but the truth is I'm really not a big fan of the Cranberries. However, there's no doubt in my mind that Dolores O'Riordan belongs on this list for being one of those recognizable voices in all of 90s rock, for her limerick accent and half-soprano vocal range. Personally, again, not a huge fan of the Cranberries, but I do think their best work was on their MTV Unplugged, where O'Riordan sounds fantastic in my opinion. So yeah, she definitely belongs on this list. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the band, I can recognize what a powerful voice she had. Another musician who we lost way too soon. So coming in at number 7 here, let's go with Dolores O'Riordan of the Cranberries. Number 6, let's go with Debbie Harry of Blondie. Debbie Harry's voice provided the soundtrack to the band's best-known material, offering a killer vocal range, which, speaking of that, the stuff they play on the radio is fantastic, but isn't a full representation of what a great vocalist she was, because if you go on YouTube and you listen to some of the isolated tracks on some of those classic Blondie material, that really does show what a fantastic singer she was in her prime and what she brought to the table as the frontwoman for Blondie. So with that said, I wanted to put her somewhere near the top 5. I think number 6 is fair, so with that in mind, coming in at number 6 here, let's go with Debbie Harry of Blondie. We break into the top 5 now with my number 5. Let's go with Joan Jett. Formerly, of course, of the Runaways, Joan Jett launched an incredibly successful solo career, still going strong to this day, with an attitudinal vocal delivery like none other. Jett has 3 albums certified platinum or gold, and really did embody that attitude of unapologetic, in-your-face 80s hard rock. So, of course, she had to be in the top 5, in my opinion. Joan Jett, an absolute legend, and definitely belongs in the top 5. So, getting us started here at number 5, let's go with Joan Jett of the Blackhearts and formerly of the Runaways. Number 4, let's go with Ann Wilson of Heart. Of course, course, she has an incredible voice, possessing a lyric soprano vocal range, also noted for her operatic abilities, and definitely belongs in the top 5, in my opinion, and in the discussion for the best female singers of all time. I'd say my number 4 to my number 1, they're all pretty close together, so the order definitely changes from time to time, and of course, Ann Wilson and her sister Nancy were also trailblazers as well, with Heart being the first rock band to be fronted by women, with Ann providing iconic vocals on classic Heart tracks. So, with that said, she definitely belongs in the top 5, and my top 5 are going to be really close together. So, definitely ask me another day, and the order could be a little bit different. But for today, coming in at number 4, let's go with Ann Wilson of Heart. Top 3, I'm going to go with Tina Turner, dubbed the Queen of Rock and Roll. Turner had one of those recognizable voices of all time, transcending rock and also becoming highly influential to rhythm and blues, funk, and soul as well. Her voice was unmistakable with a signature rasp to it in her delivery, which added a bit of an edge to her vocals, which set her apart from other female vocalists at the time during her highly successful 80s comeback. So, with that said, of course, Tina Turner, a legendary voice, a legendary figure as well. Like I said, not just important to rock, but to R&B, soul, and funk as well. So when it comes down to it, one of those important figures in all of music, right? One of those legendary and unmistakable female musicians of all time who we lost earlier this year. But an absolute legend, belongs in the top 3. So with that in mind, she gets us started here at number 3. Got to go with Tina Turner. At number 2, we have Janis Joplin, one of the most charismatic musicians of all time. Definitely belongs in that discussion for the greatest female musician ever. Despite her life being cut off at the age of 27 after an overdose, she had an incredible stage presence and was a groundbreaking performer that helped pave the way for female musicians for decades to come. And, being a member of the 27 Club, you have to question, what could have been had she, continued to make music and not passed away. What kind of an influence would she have had? Where would she have gone with her career had, she not passed away? What would the evolution of her sound had looked like as the times continued to move on? That would have been very interesting. In hindsight, of course, we'll never know, but, considering how influential she was in such a short period of time, it would have been very interesting and intriguing to see, where she would have gone from a musical direction had she lived, had she continued to make music and not been a part of the 27 Club. But again, we're never going to know, but we do have, her great work from a short period of time that definitely belongs in the top 2. So with that in mind, Janis Joplin comes in at number 2 here on this list. Before I get to my number 1, I do have a few honorable mentions to give out. So honorable mentions go out to Susie Quatro, Donita Sparks of L7, Christine McVie of Fleetwood Mac, and Grace Slick of Jefferson Airplane. All fantastic female vocalists, but I can only fit 10 on the list here today. And finally, coming in at number 1 here on the list, in my opinion, the greatest female rock singer of all time, have to go with Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac. Literally every female vocalist will cite Stevie Nicks as a massive influence on their careers. Best known for her work, of course, with Fleetwood Mac, when she and Lindsey Buckingham joined the band in the mid-70s, really helped to take the band to the next level, in my opinion, next level of commercial success. And in addition to being a great lyricist, some of her best vocal performances include Landslide, especially live, Dreams, Rhiannon, Gypsy, Edge of 17, and more. So whether it be her work with Fleetwood Mac or as a solo artist, an incredible voice, definitely deserves the number 1 spot in my opinion here today. So with that in mind, coming in at number 1, we have Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac. Legendary voice, and again, super influential. I mean, I'm pretty sure every female singer has been influenced by Stevie Nicks in some way, shape, or form. So that wraps up this list here, counting down my top 10 favorite female rock singers of all time, which should be visible right over here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload. Apologies as well if I sound a little bit nasally in this video. I do have a little bit of a cold, but like Pink Floyd said, the show must go on. So definitely wanted to put out a video here today, so apologies if I sound a little nasally, but it is what it is. I'll get over it. But if you enjoyed this video, again, please go ahead and let me know down in the comments section and share with me your favorite female rock singers of all time. I definitely want to hear from you. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.